In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the settings for a node feature definition. Starting with the settings, I have the properties for an inlet displayed over here on the left, and I'm going to be looking at this node section. So the first setting I want to talk about is the default height. And this value is going to define the default height when you place a node measured from the top of the inlet to the invert elevation of the inlet. So go ahead and place a node right here. The default height is going to control the height from the top of the inlet to the invert elevation of the inlet. If the default height is less than what has been defined in the cell, so for instance, if in the cell it's been drawn to be 5 feet in height, and we're defining a default height here of 3.281, then the default height of the cell that gets drawn is going to be whatever that larger value is. So it's going to read from the cell model. The next setting is the use slope from surface. So I'm going to zoom into one of these inlets here. And I've placed this inlet on a sloped surface. This terrain model has about a 9% slope. And right now I have it set to true, so the grate is actually tilting to match the slope of the surface. So selecting there and then going to that property. And I'll go ahead and change that back to true so you can see it shift again. Next we'll talk about the structure type. So the structure type is going to control the hydraulic prototype we can assign. So if I have it set to an inlet, for instance, then I'm going to have inlets available to choose for those default hydraulic settings. Whereas if I chose, a head wall, then I'm only going to see head wall types of prototypes. Another difference, when we do select an inlet, we get some additional settings that we don't have for any of the other types of nodes, where we can pull the road cross slope from the terrain model. So that's what this next setting is. So if I have that set to true, go ahead and select one of the inlets, take a look at the drainage properties. I'm going to go down to physical section, and it's pulling that road cross slope from the terrain model. So that's going to follow that white line right here that's dashed. So here's the placement point, and then we have the alignment line that goes here. So it is important how you have your cell rotated if you are wanting to have the cross slope of the roadway be pulled from the model, because that cross slope is going to go along this line at a certain offset, grab two elevations, and compute a cross slope. So if I take a look at this again, say it's set to true, and then I can additionally assign an offset, and that's where I can control how far out it's going to go before it gets a reading of slope. So we want to typically make sure we're getting at least past the gutter pan in that case. If we have this set to false, then it's just going to read whatever we have in the prototype or the gutter catalog. And you would need to enter your own roadway cross slope in a super elevated section. And the last setting is the network type. So this is more so an attribution. You can say it's stormwater only or combined, or you can do user defined and type in your own. And take a quick look at a utility node. So we still have some of the common node properties we saw with a drainage node. And then we have a structure type. Depending on if it's an electrical or communications, you're going to see this list change. But you're always going to have a user defined that you could type in your own if you wanted, which is what they've chosen to do here. So choose that, and then you also choose your network type, or do user define and type in your own.